Stampers! Today we're going to make this card, and we made this card at Founder's Circle at Susan Adams' house with Janet Baker, and this was one of our make and takes. And the card sits up like this. Isn't that awesome? Oh my gosh. But it gets even better. So you're just going to take a little tea light, that they're like a little fake light there, and you set it behind the reindeer. And then the vellum, it shows through. Let me show you. I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera or not, but the light shows through the little reindeer here. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for today we're going to make this version of the card. We're going to use the Early Espresso, Crumb Cake, and the Very Vanilla. And the same idea, it sits up just like that. So let's grab the cardstock. Okay, so we're using the Early Espresso, and we're going to use the brand new cutter from Stampin'Up. It's so awesome. There's so many details to this cutter that when they designed it, they did not leave out a single thing. I absolutely love it. Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and cut the cardstock in half at 4 1/4. And you want to remember the dark blade is for cutting and the lighter blade is for scoring. So we're going to cut this in half, and then you're going to score this in half at 5 1/2. I'm just going to fold this in half, and it scores it, cuts it perfect. Okay, so we're going to place this point and this point right here at the score line on the little valley here for the cutting, but we're not going to cut it, we're going to score it. Score that. So then this is going to make your fold for your card. So then when you close it, it sits up like this, but then it folds flat too. Okay, so we're going to start with the base first. We're going to go ahead and grab the extra large oval punch, and this is going to be the front of the card. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide in the oval punch as far as you can go, and you're going to go right below that diagonal score line. Punch your oval, so it looks like that. Okay, so here are the 3 layers that we're going to use for the card. The Early Espresso, this is cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is going to layer right on top of this. So let's just do it step by step here. So you're going to layer that right on top of the card, and then I find it's easier just to flip it over and then take a pencil and outline that oval shape. Okay, then you're just going to go ahead and line the punch up with the pencil line and punch that out. Okay, so now you're going to take the Early Espresso, and you're going to take your crumb cake, and you're going to do the same thing. Layer it right where you want it, flip it over, and then you're going to draw your pencil line for your oval shape. Punch that out. Okay, so then you're going to take the Very Vanilla, do the same thing. You're going to layer each piece together, and then you're going to get that outline perfectly lined up. Trace that. I'm going to punch this out next. Very Vanilla on top of the crumb cake. Just like that. Then you're going to take the Early Espresso, and all those pieces are going to layer right on top of this card right here. Okay, so now we're going to do some embossing first. Let's grab that. I have a piece of vellum cardstock, and this is cut at 3 by 3. And we're going to take our Versamark ink pad, and then of course our embossing buddy. So we want to do that to prevent the static. Okay, so the stamp set we're going to use is called Joyous Celebrations. I'm going to use the little reindeer and this little frame here. Oh, we might as well get the greeting out too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and emboss. Now I'm going to emboss the frame first. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this in the Versamark. I'm going to grab some scrap paper here. Then we're going to use the Early Espresso embossing powder. This is in the holiday catalog right now. Sprinkle that. Then we're going to take the heat tool. And this is the brand new heat tool. It's got 2 settings. We're going to use the highest setting, so it's number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and heat set this first. Okay, so now we're going to take another piece of vellum that I already stamped the little reindeer on, And I'm going to layer this right on top of the frame, right where I want it. Then I'm going to take the Stampin' Up, use that. Then I'm going to stamp the reindeer. Then we're going to sprinkle this with the powder. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and heat set this. Okay, so look at the shine on that. Oh my gosh, I love embossing. Okay, so let me clean up the mess. Okay, so next we're going to take the piece of Very Vanilla and we're going to line this up with the Designer Frames embossing folder. I'm going to put the hole right in the center of the embossing folder. I'm going to send this through the Big Shot. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's move the Big Shot. Okay, so before we go any further, we're going to take the Scallop Trim Border punch. I'm going to punch this edge right here. Okay, so it should look like this now. Now we're going to go ahead and put the card together. We're going to take our vellum piece with our reindeer, and this is going to go behind the Very Vanilla piece. So let's grab some adhesive. I'm going to put adhesive on the back of the vanilla. Then you're just going to line up the vellum behind that. And if the vellum is too big, you can always trim it down, which mine is. Let me trim that down really quick. Okay, so you got the little window with the reindeer in there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put this piece onto the crumb cake. Making sure it lines up with the window. I got to look through it here. Okay, so it looks like that. Okay, now the crumb cake is going to go on the early espresso. Look up to the light here. Okay, so there's all the pieces. So now we're going to go ahead and put the adhesive on this part where the oval punches. You don't want to put it up here because then the card won't sit upright. So you're just going to put adhesive right here. That's it. Okay, so then this piece is going to go right over top of the front of the card, just like that. Super cute. Okay, so this is going to be for the front of the card. The crumb cake is cut at 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then the designer paper, which is from the Festival of Prints, and this is in the holiday catalog right now. That's the one we're using actually, but you get the whole pack of beautiful designer paper. And this designer paper is cut at 1 1/2 by 3 1/2. This is going to layer right on top of the crumb cake. And then on my sample here, I used the early espresso instead of the crumb cake, so you can tell the difference here. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and put this on the card. Put it over to the side. Just like that. Okay, so now for the ribbon along the edge right here, we're going to use the multi-purpose glue. And the trick to this, what we found out at Susan's house, was that you're just going to apply a light, thin coat of the glue down the center. And you want it pretty light. And I'm actually just going to let this sit for a minute to let it dry a little bit. And then while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and decorate the inside. Now this Very Vanilla piece is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and it's going to go right in the inside like that. Let's do this. Put this on the inside. And then I also have a piece of the same designer paper, and this is cut at 2 by 5 1/4. This is going to go on the inside towards the bottom. There. Okay, so now we're ready for the ribbon here. Now we got some crumb cake seam binding ribbon, and really it's just a gathering thing. So I'm just going to trim this edge off here really quick. And you're just going to start applying this ribbon right into the glue. So I'm just going to kind of zigzag it down the edge of this glue, holding it with my finger. So you just want to hold that down in place. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. Okay, so that's really all there is to that. The ribbon on the side, isn't it pretty? Okay, so then I'm going to use a mini glue dot, and I went ahead already made a bow with the crumb cake seam binding ribbon. Just going to attach that with the glue dot. Put that right above the reindeer. Super cute. Okay, so now for the inside, we're going to stamp. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to use the Early Espresso. And we're going to stamp the Sending Christmas Wishes. Okay, then we're going to take the large oval punch that out. Okay, so now I'm going to take the scallop oval punch out one of the Early Espresso. Okay, so we're going to take a dimensional, pop that up, greeting. Right over top of that, and then put a dimensional on the back of that. And then depending on how you want the card to sit up, I like mine sitting up pretty straight. Put your greeting right there, just like that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh. So then you would just get a little tea light and put it behind the card. Let me see if, let me turn my lights off so you can see it. Can you see it? Isn't it pretty? Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's it. There's that one. And then here's the one that we made at Susan's house. And then here's the one that's the same one as this one, but we just used the Early Espresso for the side. Okay, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you later. Bye.